Hello, my name is Brett Swan, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to fish. Alright, the first step to do is to get yourself a rod. This rod right here is one of the most popular types. It's called an open face spinning rod. There are three main types of rods: the open face spinning rod like the one I have here, there's a closed face spinning rod, and a bait casting rod. Alright, after you buy the rod that you believe best suits you, and if it does not come pre-spooled with line, the rod itself will tell you what type of line to put on, the poundage of it. And if you mix and match rods and reels, the reel also says on it what type of line and how much you can put on there. Alright, after you get your line spooled onto your reel, you have to string it. So what you do is you take your line off the reel, pass it through the first eye loop, and depending on how many there is, just keep going all the way up. Pass it through all the eyelets. Alright, after you get it past through, pull it back down, leave you some to work with, and you're ready to tie on your weights and lures. Alright, now that your pole is strung, it's time to tie on your weights and lures. The knot I prefer is called the polymer knot. It's one of the strongest knots out there, and I'll show you guys how to tie that. First, and I'm using string by the way just for visual purposes, first you take out some string, you double it over, so it makes a loop like this, kind of like you're tying a sewing needle. You take your lure, you pass it through the eyelet, hold over, make a circle, tuck it under like you're tying an overhand knot, pull the last loop over your whole lure, pull those tight so it ends up like that. Grab your tail end, the loose end, pull tight, and keep pulling it down there real nice and tight. And then I always follow it by 2 overhand knots. There's 1 and 2. Then I snip the end off. Alright, now that you have your hooks tied onto your line, you start thinking about what baits you want to use. The first bait that I recommend catches fish all the time is natural bait. Now I'm using a gummy worm here because I don't have any worms at hand right now. But live natural bait ranges from worms and minnows all the way up to leeches and crawfish. The second bait I use is soft plastic baits. They come in all different shapes and sizes, just like live bait to worms, minnows, crawfish, but they're called soft plastic because they're not really plastic, they're more like a rubber, but they're soft, and they're very easy. You rig it basically just like live bait, but it lasts longer, and you can make it have different scents. Alright, the third type of bait I recommend is a hard plastic bait. And they are called that because they're made out of hard plastic. This one right here is a crankbait, and what happens when you reel this in, this plastic piece right here digs into the water, causing it to dive deeper and swim in erratic motion, resembling an injured fish. They come in all different shapes and sizes, ranging from topwater baits like frogs, spooks, and buzz baits, to deep diving crankbaits, to jig heads and spinner baits. Alright, now that I have told you which baits to use, I'll show you how to fish them. The first up is live bait, and I like to fish that with a bobber like you see here. Now, when you put it in the water, the bobber floats it, makes it suspend in front of fish, and small fish like panfish, they usually like to bite small floating targets. And then if you want to give a little more action to get bigger fish, just jig it up a little bit. Oh, we got one. I guess we found Nemo. Second bait is soft plastic. Now, I usually like to fish that with a little jig and retrieve. It goes like this. So you jig up, let it fall, pull it back in. Jig up, let it fall, pull it back in. Alright, the third bait is a hard plastic bait. And I'm going to be using a spinner bait to demonstrate this. And I usually like to fish them with a slow retrieve like so.